There's this massive buzz going around that AnesonGib might have called it quits on his YouTube boxing career. Whether it's true or not, we're going to hear it from him in future. But it's a great way to reminisce about his entire journey and break down each fight from the early days to the showdown with Jake Paul and the flashy wins that followed.
Helmet fights. Not many people know this, but Gib was at the forefront of YouTube boxing. He participated in the legendary first Joe Weller vs. KSI tournament, which became a classic due to the fights, results, and destroyed white balance. That's why the videos from that tournament look like someone peed on them. But now we'll fix that. Here. Now it's better. Of course, in his first fight against Max Plays, Gib didn't show high-level technique. Not even average technique. It was just a classic YouTube fight. Two guys trying to knock each other out. Max was the first to try, but he got tired after a minute. And we immediately notice one of Gib's qualities. He takes a long time to get going, but he doesn't lose focus. Even in his debut, Aneson managed to endure an early storm and then started working. This scenario will follow Gib's career. AnesonGib's started working in the second half of the first round, and we noticed the birth of the legendary squats. In this fight, the essence of this action is to dive under the opponent's punches. It's a kind of defensive move during pressing, and the only punch for pressing is the jab. But in reality, everything was flying at the opponent. Gib won fairly quickly and was ready to face a fighter with a similar style. The second fight took place 5 months later, and Gib's evolution was immediately noticeable. He no longer just squats moving forward, but also tries to bob and weave. So this is like a Mike Tyson-style pendulum, if Mike had been paralyzed. The awkwardness of it actually helped Gib's opponent, as Jay just kept jabbing and landing his punches perfectly. Even though Gib was jumping around and moving his body, Aneson's head wasn't moving at all. But over time, Gibber figured out a solution by diving in more aggressively. This caused Jay to start missing his jabs and allowed Aneson to start landing counterattacks. Again, there wasn't a lot of technique in this fight, but Gib's constant pressure eventually paid off. When Aneson began feeling more confident, we saw his classic feint. He would raise his hands and then deliver a hard jab to the body. This maneuver would help him in the future, but in this fight, it was the final blow that knocked the remaining air out of Jay's lungs, leading to Gib winning by decision. Gib versus Jake Paul. Let's talk about Gib's most memorable fight. It was the legendary squat tournament, where the guys decided to box as well. You could tell that Gib was nervous, as it was his first professional fight against an opponent who was much bigger than him. This, coupled with Gib being a slow starter, led to defeat. He was doing so many strange squats that Jake got embarrassed and sat down with him at one point. There was no logic or tactics behind those movements. They weren't pressing or defensive maneuvers. He was just doing what he was taught, but his fear froze him from taking any subsequent actions. Jake took advantage of Gib's sluggishness and nerves and started picking up the pace, resulting in a knockout. This loss will be the starting point of Gib's evolution as a boxer. It will awaken a ruthless berserker in him, who, even if he falls, will get up and knock down his opponent. Gib versus Tyler Holden. It is immediately noticeable that Gib likes to work in a pressure style. He constantly moves forward and throws a lot of punches. But his problem is that he does not feel the distance well, because of which he often punches the air. Aneson compensates for the lack of sense of distance with pace. He closes the eyes of the opponent with 3 jabs, which opens the door for attacks to the body. Gib throws a good jab, the opponent felt it, because of which he is ready to parry the next one. But instead of a jab to the head, jab goes to body. and opponent's hands are already in the air due to unsuccessful parrying. This paves the way for a powerful overhand from Gib. It is worth talking about Gib's defense because his main defense is pressing. He's not very good at sidesteps and head movement, but because he pushes his opponent to the ropes, Gib can safely run back in a straight line. Again, this is not right, but for Aneson's style, it works. Gib's main weapon is cardio. He can keep this pace throughout the fight and is not afraid to take punches. Even in the 4th round, he managed to hit long combinations, head, body, and it is noticeable that he invested in them. This is his peculiarity. He doesn't have good technique or the ability to read the opponent, but he is ready to go through the fire for the win. Gib versus Mcbroom. If you have questions, you can go to my personal Instagram. Link in the description. It is immediately noticeable that Mcbroom for some reason abandoned his mobile fighting style and fights like in the 3rd round against Bryce Hall. That is, it tries to target the opponent and attack with a powerful left straight. Let's compare the difference in styles. On the left against Hall and on the right against Gib. Visually, difference is noticeable. In Fight vs. Hall, Austin was much more thoughtful and mobile. In Fight vs. Gib, he is more stationary and tries to always connect with left straight. At first, this tactic works, and Aneson immediately uses high guard with every Austin attack. Immediately after jab, Gib uses high guard and blocked his entire view, and punches that are not visible are many times more shocking, because of which Aneson was knocked down. This created false self-confidence in Mcbroom. Gib was knocked down because of his mistake, not Austin's strength. He covered his view because he didn't see punch coming. Due to the fact that Mcbroom stopped moving and just headhunted the opponent, he became a station target for Gib, which is easy to pressure. Austin is constantly shifting under Aneson's strong hand without realizing it. In his head, he moves so he can throw his left hand with full force. The problem is that against Bryce, he spammed the left when Hall was already safe and Austin himself was tired. And here, he fights like that because he has become self-confident. Mcbroom has successfully used 1-2 in Nate Diaz style, when with his front hand, he does not so much hit as direct the opponent's head under a powerful straight. This combination shocked Gib more than once. Austin gets tired by the 3rd round, which was noticeable, despite the fact that he was many times less mobile than in the fight with Hall. Mcbroom is just as tired. Austin again shook Gib with the left straight and again lazily decided to finish him off. With his hands down, he rushed at him to push harder, but it was because of his lowered hands that he missed a hard hook. Austin still runs at Aneson with his hands down to deliver the left straight, but Gib has been eating this punch for 3 rounds and already knows the timing of the counterattack. Thanks to this, an accurate overhand sends Mcbroom on the canvas. At this point, everyone jumped up from their seats. Surprisingly, Austin did not want to change his approach to fight. With Bryce, he always threw out a lot of feints and made his actions unpredictable. But here, he completely, disrespectfully wanted to spam the left straight, and Gib constantly counterattacked him. Over time, it is noticeable that Mcbroom was afraid of the overhand, because of which, when he saw Gib's shoulders turn, he immediately raised guard, which opened the body. Such an unexpected blow shocked Austin, because of which he lowered his hands and missed a hook to the head, from which he fell. Everything that happened next does not need a technical explanation. Everything is extremely clear to everyone. When Gib was knocked down, his will did not break. When Austin was knocked down, he broke and was confused. Because of this, Aneson switched to berserker mode and simply threw everything on the opponent with full force. Mcbroom was broken and could not respond to the attacks, because of which he lost.
The rematch.
No handshakes. Both fighters are ready to end the rivalry. The context of the first fight is extremely important because Gib's game plan has not changed at all. Use body shots, then feint body shots and throw overhands. But it needs to be done near the ropes, so Austin can't escape. But the thing is, Mcbroom knows this, which is why he takes the center of the ring. Gib moves a lot, measures distance with a jab, steps over the front leg of southpaw Mcbroom. He needs to step over Austin's leg to counterattack well with an overhand like in the first fight. However, Mcbroom knows about this, which is why he often shifts under Gib's backhand. This movement by Austin makes Anson's preparation unworkable. Only at the end of the first round does. The second round starts fast for Mcbroom, who slips Gib's hand and almost lands a hook. In response, AnesonGib throws a combo, but all on the block. A straight to the body and an overhand hit Mcbroom. This is Aneson's classic combo that sent Austin to the canvas in the first fight. At the end of the second round, Gib finally corners Mcbroom as he wanted and hits the body. He still doesn't rush to throw his main weapon, the overhand. However, this moment was a great opportunity to counterattack with a straight from Mcbroom. But it's noticeable that the fear from the first fight is present. Austin understands that Gib is setting up for an overhand. At the end of the round, Austin's hook setup worked and he rocked Gib. This is the case when the ring bell saved. Most likely this punch woke up Aneson. Gib starts the third round very actively, cornering Mcbroom for his overhand. But Mcbroom is also not asleep, and in this round finally read Gib and counterattacked with a straight. Mcbroom almost lands a counter straight, but Gib immediately goes into a clinch. Gib lands a left hook, followed by powerful body shots that noticeably shook Austin. The only way to survive is to clinch, which Mcbroom does. But suddenly he starts yelling, after which the fight stops. As it turns out later, Mcbroom twisted his ankle during the clinch. Considering his basketball past, it's entirely possible. However, it's impossible to rule out the likelihood that he was genuinely rocked and tired by the third round. A combination of these factors, coupled with the fear of being knocked down like in the first fight, may have prompted Austin to exaggerate the extent of his leg injury to keep the rivalry open.
Gib vs. Jarvis.
From the very first second of the first round, Jarvis starts with a jab aiming to deflect Gib's head, followed by an overhand punch that lands on Gib's exposed head. It was visually powerful because Gib moved his head back. Gib tries to do the same, but he always starts fights slow. Gib gets disoriented at the beginning of the bouts, which is why he mostly lands punches in the air. Meanwhile, Jarvis skillfully counters. After this exchange, AnesonGib gradually starts to regain his composure and feel the distance better. It seems like he's one of those fighters who need to take a couple of hits to fight at full strength. Now Gib attempts to make Jarvis respect his jab because if his opponent fears the jab, it becomes easier to control the distance and initiate combination attacks. Essentially, Aneson is investing in the future. Despite a couple of good hits, Gib still struggles to feel the distance accurately. However, he's lucky that Jarvis genuinely respects his power and is afraid to attack. If he had been more daring in the first round, the outcome of the fight might have been different. Jarvis starts to anticipate Gib's feint with a dive and decides to counter with a check hook. From this segment, it becomes clear how important activity is in a fight. If you watch it in slow motion, you can see that all of Aneson's punches miss. However, the fact that he is activity creates the impression that he is attacking. Second round starts with Jarvis attempts to counter with a jab check hook. However, he misses because Gib is now constantly moving instead of staying still after jab. The same counter with a check hook, but this time Jarvis continues his attack with a combination to make Gib retreat and lose his rhythm. Another setup by Jarvis, but this time all punches miss. Despite that, he was prepared for Gib's counterattack, so he ducks under the combination and enters a clinch. Up until this point, it was amusing to watch the fight because essentially both fighters were doing the same thing, throwing jabs, attempting to counter with hooks and combination jabs overhand. From this moment, AnesonGib tries to change the dynamics of the battle by attacking the body. Instead of a jab overhead, he throws a jab and hook to the body. Jab's punches constantly land on target, while Gib's extended combinations hit nothing but air. Gib tries to press on and throws wild punches, but Jarvis has already anticipated his predictable attack patterns.
He dodges all the strikes and counters with straight punches against Gib's wild hooks. This visibly rocked Gib. Jarvis expects a similar attack from Gib, so he prepares to come out with an overhead. However, Aneson decides to delay his attack. Gib's prolonged attack misses Jarvis, showing that his 2 years in the Mayweather gym were not in vain. However, Aneson successfully enters a hockey clinch and lands a couple of hits, but Jarvis retaliates strongly and his powerful punches make Gib retreat. Towards the end, Gib starts landing some good shots, all single punches hitting the target. Gib pushes Jarvis towards the ropes. He can finally attack calmly, but most of the strikes are hitting the block. Jarvis realizes that the longer he stays near the ropes, the higher the chance of getting a clean hit from Gib, so he forcefully breaks free and moves towards the center of the ring. None of the strikes hit the target, but the main objective has been accomplished. However, once again, Jarvis starts his attack out of rhythm, throwing Gib off balance. Jarvis catches up with the retreating Aneson with a double jab followed by an overhead strike. In this exchange, Jarvis destroys Gib and calmly enters a clinch. Aneson launches a prolonged combination, but it's Jarvis's counterattacks that deal damage. Take a close look. Many of Gib's strikes are simply hitting air. After this exchange, Jarvis, in the style of Daniel Cormier, lands 2 hooks and then engages in a hockey clinch, inflicting even more damage. But Gib has the last word as they exit the clinch, landing a shot to the body. Gib already reads Jarvis's defensive move, a deep dive below the waist, but Aneson decides to strike even lower, allowing him to land a precise combination on his opponent. Predictable defensive moves by Jarvis become a problem for him again. Gib, who is used to his dives, perfectly times an uppercut in a combination. It's noticeable that Jarvis is slightly disoriented, so he tries the tried and true option of the hockey clinch, but Gib immediately blocks it and counters with a shot to the body. Gibber increasingly uses a single jab followed by stepping back, creating such a rhythm that he convinces Jarvis that he should chase after him after the jab. So Aneson throws a sudden overhead. Jarvis basically falls right into it. All these unexpected adaptations from Gib and body shots break Jarvis mentally. For the rest of the round, he will be a punching bag. By the final stretch, Jarvis came out tactically prepared. He started aiming lower to hit Gib when he attacks the body. In the first half of the round, thanks to this adjustment, he was competitive in the exchanges or even winning them. Then Gib increased the pace and fought even closer. Aneson fought until the last 20 seconds, where the exchanges became equal again.
After taking in all that action, would you want Gib to make a comeback? If so, who do you reckon he should go up against?